Aquarius rising. How you doing, Aquarius? This is your reading for the Pisces Virgo nodal shift that happened on the 11th or 12th of January, depending on what part of the planet you are currently residing. Itu fala dianima, dishanama dianima, dianima, tu fala inima. My name's Chloe. I work with card divination, astrology, and as you just heard, and as you can see, I channel multi-dimensional energies through my body, both in the form of physical and vocal light language. All of this brings in healing, attunement, and activation codes to the messages that are going to come through in this reading. Ishala diala, dushanimo dufala dianima. At the time of recording, the ascendant is in Aquarius. The sun is coming into conjunction with Pluto today. This is the first time it's happened in the sign of Aquarius. So big shifts. So we're bringing in that energy into this reading. And throughout the recording, the ascendant will move into Pisces, is where the North Node is. So we'll get strong messages from the nodal transit. Firstly, a little bit of housekeeping. If you want a personal reading based on the Mars retrograde, which is happening in the signs of Leo and Cancer, it's retrograde in the sign of Cancer at the moment. We're not leaving this cycle until the 2nd of May. It's a big deal. Mars retrograde's the least out of everybody, and it's very personal. It's about your motivation, your drive, and your action. It's being recalibrated. And if you want to go deeper into your natal chart, in regards to that, it is 50% off for all personal readings linked into the Mars retrograde. So email me directly if you want to take me up on that offer. Also, if you want, I've set up another YouTube channel. It's called Quantum Vibe Tarot. I've linked it in to this channel. You'll see it on the homepage. And that's where I'm getting a bit more playful, a little more creative. It's not fixed into astrology. It's more direct transmissions and activations. Lots more channeling happens in that. I'm using all sorts of decks and I'm going very quickly through the messages. And I'm on camera, so which is wild to me that I eventually did that. There are only 2 videos up at the moment. One on healing the wounded inner child, and the follow-up is activating the higher avatar of love. I am going to be getting round to doing a transmission on the North Node in Pisces and the South Node in Virgo to help us activate the most integrated and expansive intention of this nodal eclipse cycle. So if you feel so inclined, go check that out. Right, so that's the general housekeeping. This is going to be a reading on the Pisces Virgo axis, and I've done a 3-part series on this already. In part 1, and that's I'm tapping more into the collective energy for those. In part 1, I break down the meaning of the North and South Node, as well as the significance of eclipses, because that's where the eclipses are going to be. And in part 1, I also break down the energy of the North Node in Pisces. Really get into the weeds of it. I got a lot of channeled messages before in the lead up to doing this transit. It's a big vibe shift, and I go into the sort of what's the frequency around that North Node in Pisces, what's it activating, how to work with it. And as I said, pulled collective tarot, channeled messages came through, also pulled these oracle cards as well, and they're here on deck to really bring this energy into the reading, as is all the oracle cards, which is this set, apart from these 2, just for the collective energy. I haven't done the oracle reading yet. It comes out after the all 12 sign series. Some big energy coming through, so keep an eye out for that when it comes out after finishing the all signs. Part 2 is all about Virgo and the South Node and what we're letting go of, right? And how to work with that energy as well. Again, big channeled messages came through, and collective tarot. Part 3 is the combination of the 2, and also some other astrological tips to work with this energy and bringing it all together. So if you want a real deeper understanding of the overall intention of this nodal cycle, right, go pause this video, go check out that 3-part series. I know it's a lot of content, but this is a 1.5-year transit, and eclipses are a big deal, right? They have big energy. The vibe shift that's happened with this is just so profound and is blowing my mind constantly of how it's showing up very, very loudly. And the buzzwords really for Pisces and Virgo is practical magic, right? Releasing of the critical mind, right? Of the rational expectations of linear time frames from our observations from the past, letting go of a lot of that, letting go of the judgment that we may have with Virgo, because it's very highly it has very high observation skills, and that only gets us so far. That's a very big survival technique, but we're moving into a thriving landscape, and that's the Pisces energy of, right, pushing into new territory, of genuinely having faith in the miracles and abundance of source. So that's sort of the big themes around this transit. I tu fala di anima. And as I said, I go into a lot of detail in that 3-part series, and that will just give you a deeper understanding of what's showing up here, right? Because it acts as a baseline for all of the 12 signs energies. So I'm going to be pulling 4 cards on the previous nodal axis. And that was in Libra and Aries, and Cancer and Capricorn were being activated with it as well. So I'm going to be pulling 1 card for each of those signs. We'll get the card at the bottom of the deck as well to sort of see what's being activated after all the work that you've done with all of those eclipses. And then I'm going to go into the weeds of the Virgo South Node and the Pisces North Node. I'm going to be focusing predominantly on the houses, right? I'm not really going to be describing Virgo or Pisces or going into the messages that came through strongly in the 3-part series, because otherwise these videos would be about 2.5 hours long, if not 3 hours, right? They're around 2 hours at the moment already. Yeah, so that's what's going to go on in this reading. We're also going to be pulling 1 card from 4 different oracle decks at the end. Right, that's all the housekeeping done. So I read for the rising signs. Those of you who do not have Aquarius in the 1st house, which is your rising sign, look to the house it does fall in your natal chart. Look to the themes of that house, and you want to apply those themes to, as well as all the meaning you've got going on in Aquarius, to the messages that come through, right? So it's as if that Aquarius energy, wherever it falls in your natal chart, has now energetically moved to the 1st house. So the astrology for the rising sign will always still link in. You've just got to add on the meaning of the Aquarius energy in your chart to all the content, right? For example, I have Aquarius over in the 7th house. My moon and Jupiter are there. So I'd apply all of that to what comes through in this reading. As always, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Right, let's get into it. In the description box I've listed all of the eclipses, all of the dates and the degrees of those eclipses, so you can have a look at that and see what aspects they will be making to your natal chart. Obviously, this channel is predominantly focused on the lunation cycles, so I will be doing readings for every single eclipse. So we'll get into the weeds a bit more about the specific eclipse and the intention of each of them throughout the next year and a half. I've also listed where Jupiter and Mercury is through this transit, because they are the rulers of these signs, and so wherever they are going to be influencing what's going on with the nodes. So, my lovely Aquariuses, the North Node in Aries. That was in your 3rd house of how you find meaning in the day-to-day, right? It's your local community, the things you do on a day-to-day basis. The more we find the meaning in the little things, the more that impacts the bigger picture. For me, this is a gateway house to help us get in more in alignment with our spiritual path, our spiritual nature, right? And that all that means is a deeper meaning, a deeper resonance to our own existence. And then that has a bigger effect. So I think it's called the house of the goddess. It's the moon's favorite place to be. So you were getting a real heightened level of being able to facilitate your needs and your intuitive body in the way that you communicate, because it's also the lens in which you communicate through, as well as learning things for the first time, because it's linked into schools, it's linked into siblings and short distance trips, as well as all those themes of your day-to-day, your local community, your environmental frequency, and the lens in which you communicate through. So that Aries energy, that North Node energy, it's the head of the dragon, right? It's hungry, right? It's what we're striving for, where we're headed into new territory. Very yang in nature, and obviously Aries is a yang sign because it's fire. So we were really like pushing forwards with intention. Itoela, that's too many cards. We got the Seven of Wands, Jupiter and the Sun. I mean, that's you feeling more, not needing to be in conflict around how you express yourself, how you find meaning, finding more positivity, finding more of your light, more of your vision of being here on the planet. But we'll get a single card coming out for that because you know, we've got to keep it succinct here. So you may have just been finding over this transit you are just figuring out new ways of communicating. Obviously, Aries is that I am, so there can be a focus on you in the way that you communicate, right? That's just one side of the Aries energy. And you are sort of working through, okay, well, how can I still be autonomous and independent without necessarily dismissing what other people are saying, right? Without necessarily coming into conflict with the way that you're communicating. So you're just finding yourself in new pathways of getting that passion, that drive of Aries into the ways that you communicate that didn't necessarily result in conflict, right? That Seven of Wands is perceiving that you've got to do battle, right? And not really knowing your own value. So really honoring the I am and not entangling it with perceived expectations of how things are going to turn out in the way that you communicate. Right? Also that Aries energy in terms of finding meaning in the day-to-day, I can definitely see you going beyond how everybody else is doing, right? How everybody else is feeling, and really getting in touch with the truth of your individual sense of meaning, right? Rather than the entanglement with the outside world. Your real capacity to pick up new things as well, to learn new things, right? And not feel that you know, that you know everything, right? You're done, right? You're really sort of going into new spaces. I don't know why I'm still shuffling because the cards come out. Wait, what was that? We got the Lovers and the Lovers in reverse and the Six of Swords. You're getting some bonus messages here, Aquarius, to go with the final card of that lack of joy, that lack of love, and moving away and finding new perspectives, right? And taking that into a new landscape with those two cards. Yeah, overall, just pushing into new spaces of how you find meaning, really, and how you communicate and learn new things. Now, the Libra South Node is the tail of the dragon, right? This is the releasing, the purging of it all, the letting go, the inner yin esoteric experience. That then when you clear the decks, right, when you release so many things, you're left with what's going to serve you. And then you can condense that energy. The imagery I've been using for this South Node is essential oils. Essential oils rather than the eau de toilette. Now, the eau de toilette is really diluted, whereas the essential oils, you need very little to get a big impact. And that's what the South Node vibe's all about. We've always got to trust the process with the South Node because we struggle with letting go of things, right? And we can feel very disorientated. But really, you were condensing that Libra energy, and Libra for you is in your 9th house. This is the house of the gods. This is your perspectives, your bigger picture ideals, your morals, your ethics, your philosophies, your connection to book, religion, source, nature, science, all of these matrices that you know are bigger than you, but you know you're a part of, and you're figuring out what you're connecting to, how you relate to the world, what do you perceive. It's also about mastering of things. As well as sharing perspectives, because it's linked into teaching. We're not here to change people's minds. That's up to them. So you may have found a restriction and a release and a letting go of certain perspectives, right? Sometimes with the 9th, we can, again, it's that mastery energy. We can think we know it all. And when the South Node moves through there, it's like you know nothing anymore, right? And that's an incredibly profound evolutionary experience in the way that you perceive the world. So you are letting go of a lot of perspectives that weren't going to serve you in the long term, right? That then allowed you to deepen that which was left. Di tu fa la di at inama ut 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 ut. Di anima ishanimo toela ianamo yanama di shanimo toela. Right, so that was the Libra energy. So let's move on to Capricorn. Capricorn was where the North Node in Aries was manifesting, right? Because Capricorn and Cancer square Aries and Libra. They're all cardinal signs. Squares is an aspect of Mars. Yes, it can bring conflict, but fundamentally, it's about building. Mars is your personal energy of building in the world. So all of that expansion energy, where the eclipses were happening, right, in Aries, the activations, all of that energy was then being funneled to build over in Capricorn, right? And Capricorn for you is your 12th house, your hidden house, your house of mysteries, right? In the unconscious spaces, things going on behind the scenes, and in those unconscious spaces can be trauma responses, limiting beliefs. The Five of Swords kind of wanted to pop out. I think it was just highlighting what you've been letting go of. I'll remember that and come back when I've finished all the themes. Can be limiting beliefs, trauma responses, distorted love languages that then govern how we move through the world, right? It's about anxiety, depression. Lol. Okay, that Five of Swords is just, again, at the front of the deck, half flipped, but not fully flipped. Okay, so that's twice now. Let's see if it actually comes out, or if there's another card that's like, hey, no, but this is it. But the five, I'll get, yeah, anyway. Anxiety, depression, loss, grief, isolation. But, lol, okay, cool. But underneath all of that is the magic of your soul, right? Your magic is that Capricorn energy, is the earth energy. It can feel very personal, but sometimes out of reach and not integrated, right? Of that Capricorn energy of the 12th house. And so it's one of those things that you're just like, the universe is a cosmic troll. By putting the magic of your soul underneath all of the layers of conditioning, right? Collective, social, individual conditioning, that imprint in the unconscious spaces. And it's why you see in so many spiritual practices, book religions, you know, the deeper meaning of life is the inner work. And so you've had a year and a half of, through exploring how you find meaning, through exploring new ways of communicating, that would have been new ways of communicating internally, right? In those unconscious spaces, right? Of developing a deeper meaning to your connection on this incarnation, of helping heal and work through a lot of issues over in the 12s, right? So all those sort of mental things, those limitations. You may have just found yourself, you know, just spending a bit more time by yourself, right? And working through all of these things, as well as getting a lot of activations to reconnect you back to the magic of your soul and your capacity to really embody that great earth energy, right? That long-term thinking, that maturity, that capacity to keep on going and climb that mountain. For some of you, it may have been about releasing some wounds from childhood, right? In terms of schools and siblings, right? Not all of us, we don't always get on with our siblings. We don't always have the best experience at school. And then someone may have said something to you when you were younger that's just imprinted in your unconscious. And that North Node expanding into new territory would have been helping you break away from those wounds. And then you would have seen the work shift and change in your unconscious spaces. So, okay, no, I'll say it after Cancer. The Cancer energy was acting as that South Node in Libra manifestation. That card came out pretty quick. And the 6th house is the adult in the room. It is work, how you figure things out. It is work itself, physical health, routines, co-workers, and therefore collaboration. pets and therefore acts of service. And I currently have a little cat curled up behind me. Itufala, disheni, and she doesn't always come into my room and sit on that chair at this time in the morning. So I think she's just a little nod to let you know that something's gonna something will have shifted around if say you got pets, around your relationship with pets. So that South Node again, that inner yin esoteric experience. I know a lot of Aquarius risings who throughout this transit, their sixth house work just wasn't really happening in the same way. That you may have gone for certain jobs, but you didn't get them, and you're kind of like, well, why? I've got all the qualifications, and it would have been around that your working environment with other people, the other people who worked in that wasn't suitable for you. Right, so that sense of co-working energy, right, the universe would have just been like, no, that's not going to serve you in the long term. We're letting go of that. This particular job, this particular way of working isn't working and isn't going to serve you. There may have been a bit of a drain on the physical body with that South Node manifesting through there. And it's been a bit of a difficult transit for Cancer, you know, that sense of inner isolation, also this sort of disconnect from your emotional body in order to get really deep and really get into the weeds of how are you being the adult in the room for yourself. And this is in alignment with your perspectives of releasing a lot of perspectives of how you think you are and who you think you are and where you're going and what's going on. Right, that it all would have been getting you to a place where you're genuinely able, because it's very mature energy, the South Node, of getting you into a place of really having the capacity to be the adult in the room for yourself, right, and really take care of yourself. But it may have felt like that was all quite restricted during this transit. Toela dialema, o shalama dialemo dofala, yanama o toela, animo toela diatianima o toela. If you want a deeper understanding about both this Capricorn and Cancer energy and what that's been doing, the last new moon, which was the Capricorn new moon, and the Cancer full moon, I went into a lot more detail about what was going on with all of that. So that will give you a deeper meaning on top of this little short summary here. Tuela di anima. Also, that the Cancer full moon happened just after the nodes changed signs. The astrology of that moon, well, one, it's the first lunation, but also the astrology, apart from the moon itself, which was in Gemini at the time of the nodal shift, most of the celestial bodies were pretty much exactly in the same space. So that Cancer full moon, that frequency is very powerful in regards to the activation of this nodal transit. I also pulled cards on the releasing of what happened in Cancer, so I go into more detail there. Right, let's get into your tarot. So for the Aries energy, this is what's being activated given all the work that you've done. We got the Four of Cups in reverse. I love this for the third, right? So often our day-to-day can be a bit like this, right? So this figure is looking out at that Three of Cups, that sense of flow, abundance, feeling good, right? You know, connecting with others in a really harmonious way, celebrating, very joyous energy. And this figure is looking at it and going, oh, I don't have that. Or I don't think I have that. And looking at other people and how they're finding their meaning in their day-to-day, how they're communicating, perhaps with a little more ease, right? And a little more connection, right? As I said, that Aries energy can be very independent. They may have sort of felt like that in the way that you've communicated in the past, it didn't really matter what you do. There was like this level of conflict or this level of disconnect, right? Aries can be so independent. It can be contrary in its nature. And that North Node was helping us move away from that and moving away from the conflict it can bring up. And so this figure is a bit depressed, to be honest. Its arms are crossed, its legs are crossed, it's resistant to change. It's you know, it doesn't really, it's seeing this and wanting this, but not really doing anything about it. So if we apply that to like the meaning in your day to day, right, of knowing something's not right, but not really having the momentum to shift it. And in fact, externalizing to the outside world, which never serves us. For me, this card is comparison is the thief of joy. It's in reverse. So you're no longer, you know, stealing away your own joy. You're no longer in this sort of heavy state when it comes to finding meaning in the day-to-day. There is now more union and connection and flow in the way that you're communicating with others. You're opening up into new spaces of how you connect and how you engage in your day-to-day, in the little things, in your local community perhaps, right? You might have found yourself exploring different communities and finally, through this process, finding a bit more of a tribe. But the main things is that resonance, that meaning in the day-to-day, and no longer being stuck in being able to, 1, manifest it, 2, see it, 3, work with it. 1, 2, 3. Really powerful for the 3rd house. I really love that, because the more that we externalize, right, the more we give away our power and have us in this sort of stuck energy. And I love that for the way that you're communicating, right? This may have been a block of your connection to source and the messages that you get. Oh, they like this one. And, you know, again, we'll get to the Capricorn energy, but seeing that show up in messages from your higher self, right? Messages from, and having a higher level of communication with those sort of more unseen realms. Now, the Libra energy. It's interesting, you've got a lot of cups here. So your emotional body is now prepped for this nodal transit in Pisces and Virgo. Anyway, this is the 6 of Cups. These are both great for the houses. So this is your house of perspectives. So by letting go of perhaps some rigid, limiting beliefs of how you perceive the world, you have opened up to the magic, right? This is very dreamlike energy. This is lots of possibilities, lots of new ways of engaging with the world, right? Almost like the world is your oyster and how you're perceiving it, engaging with it. And it's a very sort of fantastical energy, the 7 of Cups. So again, it really feels like that, breaking away from old structures that's allowing you to play with your more galactic energy in the way that you perceive the world. They would started work around the throat chakra and have moved up to the 3rd eye and the crown. And they brought that energy back into your heart. Love that. This is also my channeling card, right? So you may have gone through a cycle that has led to an activation of you realizing you can channel. You're intuitive, you're psychic. We all are, by the way. We just got to work with it and create space for it. So you may have found like you've reached a level of higher understanding in your capacity as a human being, and the many skills and awarenesses and connections to the cosmos that are unfolding at the moment, and seeing that perspective and then creating more space for it. Capricorn, Temperance, right? Remember, we got that 5 of Swords that winked at the front of the deck, kind of half flipped in my hand. It didn't flip, as in like it opened up in my hand. And that 5 of Swords is all about the bully in the mind, right? Especially with the 12, the bully victim cycle. And this conflict, right? This, for me, the 5 of Swords is the most difficult card in tarot. And this can be being in conflict with the unconscious, right? Of there being a bully victim cycle in your unconscious spaces. It came out twice that you've done great work in clearing out, because now we've got the Temperance card. Now, the Temperance card is all about the process of the alchemical process of bringing in your higher self into the 3D world, which is exactly what the 12th house is all about, right? This is about being open to receive and give, because we have the 2 cups here. It's also about doing things differently. So you are now, with these big activations that have gone on, you are in this space of ultimate continual refinement of those unconscious realms, of tempering yourself, of having the power and the capacity to do so in the unconscious realms with the magic of your soul. And that's super significant, right? It's really hard to work with the deep-rooted unconscious responses, because they can feel so a part of us that we don't even question them. We can't even see them. Having the Temperance card show up in the 12th is really saying you're activating a new cycle now of your capacity to really engage in a powerful and meaningful, higher, more integrated way with the angelic frequency in the 3D realm, with all that difficult energy of anxiety, grief, loss, depression, but predominantly with your unconscious spaces, with the magic of your soul, and being able to bring that into the 3D. E tu fa la di anima, Cancer, 9 of Wands in reverse. Very appropriate for a 6th house energy, right? Of physical health, of work. This card, this figure, they're exhausted. Their body is broken, right? They feel very alone. They feel like they've got to do all the work themselves, but they're also constantly thinking that they've got to be ready for battle, right? Be ready for the next conflict energy, right? And they're very independent, but do you need to perceive your world, your emotional world with the Cancer energy? Everything is just a struggle, right? That work, your physical health, your routines, how you work with other people, right? So there may have been lots of situations where legitimately you feel like the 9 of Wands. But so often when we have repeating cycles in that regard, it then gets fixed, right? And then we're like, it doesn't matter what happens, doesn't matter what our reality actually looks like. We're still perceiving that we got to be on guard and that we don't have support, right? And that our body is broken and exhausted. And it's come up in reverse. So there's a real sense of you stepping outside of that defense mechanism, right? And bringing deep healing to your physical vessel. Also not necessarily feeling like no one appreciates the way that you work anymore, right? Because this can be you being very firm in your certain practices and like other people coming at you for it, right? This is you not being that bothered, right? Not needing to drain your energy and having the confidence that you've applied the deeper perspective of how you work, and then be able to step up and be the adult in the room for yourself and work with that energy rather than being in conflict with it, right? This can also you being in battle with being the adult in the room, right? Of your inner child being wounded and feeling like it's got to go down a certain path and it can't really step up to the plate in the way that you need it to, right? So you're no longer battle weary, right? There's a level of calm, there's a level of peace that's coming to the way that you work, and that your intuitive body isn't triggered by situations that you are perceiving are going to be the same as the ones before. This is not a card of co-creation. This is not a card of collaboration when it's in the upright. So again, taking away that sort of defense mechanism that's allowing you to collaborate and have healthy relationships in that regard at a higher level. For me, the 6th house is so important. The more you understand how you work, right, the more you can share that with the people that you're engaging with, whether that be a romantic, a work, a friendship level, and then you can establish healthier relationships rather than feeling this sort of disconnect. Card at the bottom of the deck is your card, Aquarius. Hello, the star. This is acknowledging the deep healing that you've gone through, right? That's got you back to your authenticity, right? Not the conditioning. She is unclothed. She has stripped herself down to the truth of who she is, right? She's bringing in the galactic and the earth energy together, and that's allowing her to hope and dream at a truer level. And we can tie this in with your perspectives and the way that you communicate, right? Internally and externally. The deep work that you've done in the unconscious spaces, as well as the trusting in how you perceive, how you work, right? That is unique to you. And it's soothed a lot of wounds around conditioning of what the outside world may think of you. And allowed a heightened connection to the galactic realms with all those star energies. That is giving you the space to be able to feel free in the 3D world, because she's on the planet, on the earth even. Right, I'm going to cut the deck and we'll see where these cards want to go. So let's do Cancer. I love that. Come with the 9 of Pentacles, right? Of you knowing what you need to do in order to, facilitate a holistic life, right? No longer being exhausted and burnt out. You've got the energy, you know what you're doing. You're not really bothered about what other people think of you. You're going to make the decisions that serve your embodiment. I can also see this as getting more work in, right? So that is allowing you to have a bit more fun. With temperance, we get the 3 of Cups, right? Which that 4 of Cups is wanting. So this is, I love this, right? So there's a tarot reader called The Birth of Venus, and I always reference her because this is not my interpretation. I had this from somebody else. So this is you with your spirit team. This is you and your with your higher self, you in the unconscious spaces, and there's flow, there's union, there's celebration, there's connection, right? There's a heightened connection that's bringing you more joy. Di anima, di anima, dufala. We got the Page of Wands with the 7 of Cups, right? So new perspectives that you're able to communicate. Right? Fresh energy coming in the way that you perceive the world. Ituela di anima, dufala di anima. Dishanimo dufala di anima, or toela di anima. Shanima di anima. You got with the 4 of Cups, you got the Tower, right? This is Mars's card, and Mars rules Aries. And this is highlighting the significance of what's been pulled down, right, in terms of the way that you find meaning and the way that you communicate, because the Tower gets rid of the top, right? It leaves the foundations really strong. So it's really confirming that even though this is minor arcana, the work that's happened is profound for you, evolving into a new space. Like a lot of structures that just aren't working, you've let go of. Right, my loves, let's get into the Virgo South Node. Now for you, this is in the 8th house of the outside world's resources, right? This is mortgages, loans, car insurance, taxes, debt that you owe, debt that's owed to you, bonuses and commissions, you know, non-regular work and money and resources from non-regular work. Excuse me. Yeah, so it's more one-off things, or working with the resources from the outside world. It's also about relationship dynamics. Itiala diale modoela dishanima. Itanima ot tinia. Dialama ot ishanima itianima. It's the exchange between you and anything other than yourself. Itu vala dianima. Time, money, energy, ideas, intimacy. Itu vala dianimo toela. It's where we can get scarcity complexes, codependency, greed, and hyper-independence. Itu vala dianima. It's the relationship dynamic you have with Source and the resources from Source. It's a very, very magical house. Ituela dialamo doshelama dianima. Very transformative, because we transform every time we engage with anything other than ourselves. Also when we are with ourselves as well. Distorted love languages can show up here, right? Of how we engage with anything other than ourselves based on things that we learn in our early years. So you're letting go of certain restrictions around certain ways of engaging and being with the outside world. You know, this may be unhealthy relationship dynamics, right? Falling away, letting go of mindsets around resources. Yeah, like with the Virgo energy, as I said, it can be very rational in its understanding, right? It likes to observe, and from those observations figure things out. Now, as I said, we're getting a bit delusional with this nodal axis, because we're allowing the Piscean energy, the non-linear miracle synchronistic side of it, to be amplified. So what I see here is any restrictions around your connection to Source, right, and the resources from Source, any limiting beliefs that have blocked you from thinking you're able to receive and give in a healthy way falling away. Toela diala modo shalama dianima o toela di shanama o toela. You know, it can obviously see restrictions and limitations on the outside world's resources, right? On certain relationship dynamics where, because of that, it's getting you deeper into yourself of understanding what is possible. And when we sort of have things fall away and we let go of things, there may be certain people in your life that, because of the relationship frequency, you're just not spending time with them in the same way. You're not responding in the same way. That may have a difficult situation occur. It's all going to be on a curve, but trust in the process of, say there's somebody who you really like hanging out with, and you just find yourself, you're not hanging out with them in the same way anymore. You may be a bit sad about that, but then through that process, you're like, oh, wait a minute, how we were showing up with each other was actually, and I felt called to say this word, but it's a bit of a strong word, toxic. South Node is about releasing toxins. It's about purging these things. So it's going to be teaching you a lot by having things be stripped bare, basically. But the process will be, the process will be, in order to establish a truer connection, right, with the outside world. For some of you, it may well be about, if you needed a loan for a house, right? If you needed a mortgage, that's the actual proper word, isn't it? For a particular house that you really wanted, and that doesn't happen. It's because that wasn't the right house. Okay, hi. If you're wanting, I say, a loan for a business, whoever you're going for might not be right for you. It might not be right for you to do this at the moment. It's about really reconfiguring your capacity to get out of scarcity and to move into abundance. And it might bring about a level of scarcity that you're just like, oh, what's going on here? Trust in it, really trust in it. So for example, I'm a Leo rising, so I'm opposite your sign. I have this in my second house, which I'll get to, is Pisces, of regular income. And a couple of days before the nodes changed signs, a fellow Leo rising had lost some regular income, and then meant that she could no longer hire me regularly for my services. And I didn't feel any fear around it. So it might be in terms of like not getting the bonuses and commissions in the same way, the sort of non-regular work, because there's now going to be a focal point on regular work. So if you've perhaps had sporadic work, this is leading to regular work, right? So the next day after I was told this, and I wasn't in a fear state. One, I know astrology, I knew something like that was bound to turn up, but you can still have worries about it. It felt so aligned. It felt so genuinely aligned. And the next day I got a call for some non-regular work, because I've got the North Node over in the 8th, right? So trust in the process, realize that there's going to be a reorientation here of your focal point. Inherently it's about healthier relationships with the outside world, and not externalizing our needs to the outside world, because you're going to be very independent with that North Node in Pisces, and you're going to know your own power. And it's because of the restrictions that gets us to go more to that second house that is going to just be huge, right? So I don't mean to say anything that might scare. The South Node can always be a bit of a difficult journey, right? It is the deeper inner reflection, and that often means the outward world kind of diminishes because you're being called to go inward. Right, let's look at these cards and see what the intention is for my lovely Aquariuses. So this is the vibe of this transit for you. We've got the Six of Swords, and that kind of came out in the last reading, and we've got the Hierophant. So that Six of Swords is like, okay, you've been through some choppy times, but now you are being guided to a new landscape. You're not there yet, but you're being guided to this very calm landscape over here that's asking you to think about what are your perspectives that will serve you to thrive, right? Letting go of certain perspectives around your environment, around the outside world and your interaction with it. Are you always going to think that it's going to be a bit of a struggle bus? It's going to be a bit challenging. This is calling you to focus. No, what will help me thrive? Or what perspectives can I bring to the table and implement that will bring in a level of thriving? Itoela dialema, dialima, diishinima. And then we have the Hierophant, which is the embodiment of this journey. This is the Pope. It's a representation of all the, the sort of the path that we go on, right? The dark night of the soul and the questioning of faith, the questioning of what meaning, of who we are and what we want, and coming through it and having that belief, that knowing within us of our incarnation in our bodies. This is Taurus energy, right? That physicality, that embodiment of the mental pursuits, right? There's a very confident energy here, right? There's a real sense of, and what I was saying about heightened connection with Source, of you being more of a co-creating vessel with Source, with the resources from Source. So there may be, for some of you, you're activating a cycle of being able to transmit messages from Source to other people, right? Because we've got these two figures here. And that can be in any profession, that can be in any mode, but there's a real sense of confidence, of stability here. Taurus is your root system. Taurus is your fourth house of your home, your private life, the ancestors. It is the literal and figurative foundations of your incarnation and where you're at and what kind of home you got. But it is that foundational energy of you being able to build and co-create with Source from your foundations, right? That's this real deeper knowing of what Source is all about for you, and that alignment, strengthening your foundations so you're able to build at a better level. Okay, the challenge is the Ten of Pentacles, right? That you might get a bit nervous if things are happening that you're not able to build for your legacy, right? This is about long-term building. And so, as I said, those certain things that you may think are part of the longer-term plan, right? Getting that loan, getting that mortgage, a certain relationship in your life, and that dynamic suddenly falling away, and then you're kind of left a bit disorientated. Can be very discombobulating, the South Node, because we struggle to let go of parts of ourselves. We're holding on to such intense stories, more of the shadow stories, that when we are met with the purging energy of the South Node that's here to strip us of those things, it can feel a lot. It can feel like very disorientating. And so there may be certain situations that happen throughout this transit where you're like, I'm never going to be able to get to this Ten of Pentacles. I'm never going to be able to create in the moment a longer term goal. There may be real resistance to working with Source, right? Because this is, you see here, we've got the nuclear family. They're in very plain clothes, and then we have the elder covered in esoteric symbols. And to get, this is a city. Cities take a really long time to build. To get into that kind of like long-term incarnation capacity, we've got to work with the unseen realms, with the esoteric, right? That's the pillar that you see in the High Priestess, right? The yin and the yang of it all. So there may be real, and so to really work with this card in its fullest power, we've got to be in alignment with that. And so there may be real resistance to you engaging with Source. Right, so I want you to be really open to what comes through. And another message is this being a challenge is also worrying too much about the future. My other hand's at the third eye, which is your inner knowing. Right, this is trusting in being present. Virgo can very much be about all the plans. And we're scrapping them, right? And we're getting a bit delusional, and we're co-creating with Source in the present moment without any expectations or assumptions of the bigger unfolding, because there's so much going on in the astrology. How are we even supposed to know when fundamental changes are going to be happening over the next year and the next year? So there may be this inability to be present and explore the unfolding. With this transit, it's not about pushing. It's not about, if there's resistance to something, don't push, soften. Soften, 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 soften. And through that softening, get back into your flow, get back into what your intuition and your instincts then come from that softening, rather than, oh, this is a problem, I'm going to push at it, I'm going to worry at it, I'm going to try and control it. No, 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 no. We're not doing that with this transit. We are softening, we are dissolving, we are having faith in the miracles. And yeah, this very much feels like all of that, of the overcoming of that. Okay, wanted to cut the deck to get another card, and I've got the Five of Pentacles. This often turns up in an 8th house transit. This is the fear mindset, the scarcity mindset, feeling left out in the cold, feeling isolated, right? Not getting the support, right? Not get, that's this, all of those bigger wounds of the 8th, not getting what you need from relationships, right? So this is the mindset that we're breaking out of, but we may struggle because we cannot perceive how the longer term goals are going to manifest, right? So we've got to get rid of even worrying about it. Send your fears up to source. Trust, I've been doing this. Everything I say here is all things I've implemented. I very rarely bring anything to the table that I haven't put into practice. The amount of times I have, especially heightened over the last couple of weeks, that when I have softened, when I have let go of the fear, and I feel that, I no longer fear that fear in that body, right? And I've perhaps had to get out of the Virgo mind. I've got a Virgo sun, right? And get a bit delusional about whatever's going on. Surrender that fear up to that Pisces energy. Almost immediately after I have felt that in my body, I go on about my day, I get on with my life. Whatever that fear was, something pops up that lets me know that it's not valid, and then it dissolves it again within my body, right? So really allow yourself that space during this transit. How to work with this energy. We have the Four of Swords and the Empress, kind of confirming exactly what I just said. And I do have a lot of Leo, forgot about these cards. So they really are describing exactly what I just said. Four of Swords. This figure knows they are held by something bigger than themselves. They're in a church, right? So that's just a representation of that bigger meaning. The Three of Swords are no longer in the heart. So this is letting you know that the wounds that you have in the 8th of relationship dynamics, of scarcity complexes, they are no longer in the heart. But you now have the space to be still, go inward, to pray, to meditate, to reconfigure away from this Three of Swords and find this Ace of Swords, the downloads, the upgrades, right? The communications from source at a much deeper level, because you're no longer trapped in the old cycles. And this is wanting you to know that you are not trapped in them anymore. But in order to sort of elevate this and get out of the fear state of that Ten of Pentacles can bring up, and go into a state of meditation, whatever that looks to you, right? It's different for everybody. Go into a state of contemplation. Let go of those fears. Fears are just prayers in reverse. I can't remember. I think Michael Beckworth. I think I've got his surname wrong. And he's a preacher. He said that once that I heard very early on in my journey, and it was like it clicked in my head. I'm like, what are you doing with that fear? It's just poison. It's also a very useful tool to let you know what's an illusion. So I really want you, you got to get a little inward. You got to sort of start communicating with source a bit more, trusting in it, those Three of Swords are no longer in your heart, right? You are activating a refinement process of the truth of your 8th house and not the conditioning of it. And then the Empress. Oh, hi, Venus. Currently in Pisces, one of her favorite places to be, and that was locked into this whole transit from when the nodes changed signs. She wants you to feel good in this world. She wants you to create. She wants you to focus on the abundance and the fertility, right? And play and not worry if you've not got this or that, or if the big plan isn't working. She wants you to get present. She wants you to go smell the roses. She wants you to reorientate back to a bit of joy, right? And really allow your capacity to meditate on abundance on a regular basis, on fertility, on the joy of existing. And that is really going to amplify the condensing energy of that South Node. Itala dialama dialima dianima. Gishana. At the bottom of the deck, we have the Two of Cups. This is the root intention. This is beautiful for the 8th. These figures are both open to receive and to give. They are treating each other with respect, honor, and dignity. They are eye to eye. There is equality here. This is union at a deep level. Two individuals consciously co-creating with each other that create a Kundalini activation, and that's the power of our soul self in the physical vessel that brings about deep healing. So we can appropriate that. No, that's not, I mean, it is the kind of way we can use this energy, one, for your relationship dynamic with source. Because you've been stripped bare, you're now activating a higher energy of love where you are open to receive and to give with the outside world, both in terms of resources, relationship dynamics, and your heightened connection with source. Dianima, full underneath that. Love that. New beginnings. Right, let's pull 2 cards for Gemini. So the Gemini energy is acting as the same as the Cancer energy for the last transit. So this South Node in Virgo is now manifesting over in the 5th house of creation energy. Hi, Venus. So all of that, the releasings, the activations going on there is funneling into your 5th house. Your creation energy, the house of joy, pleasure, amusement, games, right? This is children, both literal children that you work with, that your own figurative children, such as your inner child, and creative things you birth into the world. It's about romance, dating, and love, but fundamentally, it is your sacral chakra, which is your creation energy. And that applies to anything that you do where you create in the world. It is your powerhouse of energy. We get it a bit twisted, understandably so. Our species has a deep-rooted inherent need to procreate. So our focal point can be predominantly with connecting one-on-one in a romantic union. But what we really want to do is find a greater resonance of bringing our creative energy to every area of our existence. So these restrictions, these letting goes of perspectives around relationship dynamics and inter-exchanging with the outside world are having you go deep within yourself in regards to your creation energy, right? Where have you gone to extremes with it, right? Where have you gone to negative spaces, right? With certain romantic relationships, your inner child is there. The inner child can have a lot, have a lot of addiction, usually based on distorted love languages that we learn in our early years, right? And so it can go and seek out extremes. It can, recreate experiences with romantic partners that don't serve us, but they're so deeply rooted in our unconscious space that it's just this impulse that we can't break out of. This transit is getting you out of a lot of that stuff. It's getting you out of distorting your creation energy, right? And really allowing you to cultivate its power. You may find that all of those themes of the 5th are kind of restricted and have gone inward, right? So there may be a diminishment around a lot of playtime, right? A lot of, I could definitely, that sort of just limiting you in terms of how you're outwardly manifesting, because you're recalibrating internally around how you create in the world, how you find joy, how you find pleasure. It may see, as I say, a falling away of a certain romantic relationship that actually serves you, but you may have felt a bit, kind of what I was talking about with Virgo, that is, something that you felt very addicted to, but actually doesn't serve. la di anima duela. How you show up in love relationships, how you show up with your inner child, with your creativity, right? Rather than the addiction, finding a healthier way of engaging with joy, with pleasure, with games. Tu fa la di anima. Okay, I just heard you are reconfiguring and deepening the rules of your own game. Itala di anima otoela di shanama otoela. Itanima utufa. Whoa, okay, never heard that one before on the 5th house. Okay, so let's see what this card's all about then. 5 of Wands in reverse. Love this. So this is the intention of that South Node in Virgo manifesting and building over in Gemini. No longer being in conflict with lots of different pleasures and joys, and this can be always just being this low level conflict with relationships of romantic nature, with your relationship with your inner child. This is perhaps your inner child working through a lot of frustrations and wounds, because there's lots of movement here, but there's no momentum. There's nothing manifesting and moving forwards, right? And so this feels like a closed feedback loop of conflict, of frustration, of things only going so far, right? Of being overly distracted by certain things, as I said, addiction, lots of different games, your creative energy never quite manifesting quite in the way that you would like it, right? And this can also be like parental figures who had fights with each other, that your inner child then recreates that and wants to run away from any kind of relationship. But it's in reverse. It's in reverse. You're letting go of this big energy, right? Even though it's minor arcana, 111, as I said that. This is powerful. This is really, really powerful. That's allowing more alignment, more flow from your creation energy, from that Kundalini rising, right? Of that 2 of Cups that we got with the Virgo energy, right? Coming back into a state of union rather than a state of conflict, right? And so there's a deep healing stuff going on here. One, it'll be around perhaps addiction, old wounds, old ways of thinking, old ways of relationships of a love nature showing up, old ways of how you express your joy, express your creativity, where you may have felt, well, I can't do that because none of the creative outlets ever get anywhere, right? So we're letting go of the wounds of that. Right, how to work with this energy. You got your card Aquarius. So not only did you get that star, which is another Aquarius card, you got you high, right? So this is about, this feels, even though it's an air sign and it's an Aquarius card, this feels like the maturity that you've learned from that Cancer energy, right, of being the adult in the room, coming into the 5th house, right? This sense of maturity and sovereignty, the clarity in which to take action, right? Of, very grown up energy here, of just like wanting to draw a line in the sand and be like, no more. This isn't working for you. This doesn't serve you. Stop it. Kind of vibe is what I'm getting from that King of Swords. Is you having a heightened level of clarity and being able to act on it, and this is what it's asking you to do. There's going to be certain things where that genuinely doesn't give you the nourishment you really need, yet you still keep on doing it. We've all got those things. I'm currently working through sugar, and that crux of like, at certain times I'm like, well, I deserve this treat. And I'm like, no, sugar completely dysregulates my body. I get spots really easily from sugar. I'm like, no. I get into King of Swords mode. I'm like, walk away, go buy yourself a packet of cashews. And the more that you do that, the more you step up to this refinement process, to this letting go of old understandings, old ways of doing things. The more you engage in it, the more powerful it will get. What have we got at the bottom of the deck? Well, we've got Gemini, we've got the Lovers. So all of this is leading you to a higher integration of self, masculine, feminine, and spirit, all working together. And interestingly, these were both at the bottom of the deck, and they're mirror images of each other. But this is all about this integration of self, so you make the right decisions at big crossroads in your life to go climb that mountain, right? So this is you making those healthy decisions that bring about a state of union and collaboration, right? That serve your longer term goals. as well as falling in love with your creativity, with your joy, with life again from a healthier place. Right, I'm just going to pause and hydrate, my loves. Right, let's get into the Pisces North Node going on in your second house of your resources, your skills and tools of how you manifest and bring in regular income, the things that you value and how you value yourself. Now, like that Aries energy, we're heading into new territory with it all. We're expanding, we're hungry for it, right? Di anima, du fala di animo tuela. We're hungry, 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 hungry. Now, I'll give you an example of an Aquarius. Right, let's get this back into focus. Boop, boop. Hello, are we in? Is it just not very... Don't know what's going on here. Come on. Boop. Maybe it's just not very... Give me a second. Sorry, I just had to pause again because that was like really out of focus. Don't know what was going on there. I'll give you an example of an Aquarius rising that was paid for 2 jobs that they didn't actually have to do willingly by the client. I mean, that is the kind of miracle Pisces, weird, non-rational things appearing, unexpected vibe. In terms of like what that North Node in Pisces is capable of bringing you right now. So powerful stuff. This is you heading into new territory around your skills and your tools and having ideas around regular income and expanding outside of limitations of what you're able to receive, right? So much of the second house, well, I find that was with the 2nd, 11th, 8th, and 5th. It's all about the capacity to receive and the wounds that we have around not being able to receive in a really healthy way and therefore give in a really healthy way. So much of that second house is based on whether you value yourself or not, truly, madly, deeply, unconditionally. If you don't, you then place things, well, not everybody, but predominantly, we then place value in things that just distort our sense of value, that just distort the reality. And then we're not able to access our skills and our tools in the same way because we're not confident. And then we doubt whether we deserve more regular income. So you are heading into big new territory around all of those themes, right? And really accentuating your capacity to learn new skills, engage with things in different ways, find new ways of manifesting and bringing in regular income, finding a deeper, expansive, unconditional love, which is very Piscean, in who you are and what you bring to the table. So big themes. I'm here for it. Get into your flow state, be open to the miracles, be open to the non-linear way in which things are going to show up. Again, going back to what I said earlier on in the video, we are not here to push. We're not here to push when there's resistance. We're here to soften, right? And be open to the possibilities here. So you're really getting a boost, a sense of confidence, a sense of exploration in your skills, your tools, how you value yourself beyond the old paradigms. You're moving away from them. But as I said, we're heading into new territory, so we can kind of not trust it, right? But the whole trick with all of this is have some faith. We're doing a massive trustful with Source at the moment. As I said, every time I surrendered up my fears, my worries, my desires to Source, I mean, I'm doing little baby steps with it all because I think it's best for it to show up in the little things. It just constantly, rather than me worrying and freaking out and planning about certain things, I've just let that all go and gone with the flow, and then source just shows up and everything unfolds in the way that genuinely serves me at my highest good. And it's blowing my mind. So have a little trust in it. Have a little trust in the possibilities, in the synchronicities that may lead you to more regular work, that may lead you to discovering and evolving a certain skill. And you may come across things that activate a higher level of manifestation capacity, because overall the energy of this is getting you to value yourself truly, madly, deeply, unconditionally, not in an extreme way that is usually coming from a very hurt ego. We're doing some deep healing around that. Dianima, dishanama, otoela, dishanama. Okay, so let's get into the tarot of it all. So first up, we've got the intention of this North Node in Pisces. 7 of Wands and the Star, both of which have shown up in one way or another already in this reading. 1, 10, 1, 10, 1, 10, 10 as I say that. So this is... what I was saying about the 7 of Wands, I think it came out like as a half message in the deck, but I didn't actually bring it out. This figure is standing on the cliff, right? They have the higher ground. They have the advantage. They're in a good position. They have something of value. They are of value. Do they look like they know it? Do they? Look at that face. Of all the faces in the tarot, this is the one that's just like, I'm so unsteady. Look, wearing different shoes, different heels, which is great. It's a fun ride, but not the greatest when you're in this position. And so this card is acknowledging you have something of value, but when it's in the upright, for me, this is how I read this card, you don't know it. Right. And in fact, you're then in competition mode, right? That you think because you've got to defend your position, right, there isn't enough space for everybody. It's the scarcity mindset again, right? It's this sense of and the competition that is drilled into us as a collective, that there isn't a space for all of you, right, to do all that you want to do. When that's the illusion we're breaking, right? Because it's come in reverse. So it's saying getting out of your head, getting out of that mindset, that instinct that we have, that we gotta, that we're wherever we are, whatever we're doing, we're not of value, and we've always got to be in battle mode. So this is being released, and this is allowing you, as I said, to truly value yourself. Value yourself and know what you bring to the table is powerful, but you're not externalizing your fears of how it's going to unfold to the outside world by perceiving competition, by perceiving scarcity. This is about you cultivating your path and your capacity to show up and know what you're bringing to the table is of merit. Now that can be about resources as well as relationship dynamics, because obviously we're tying in that 8th house, and all the houses and all the signs that I'm talking about today, they're all interlinked. Right, so that 5th house energy of romantic relationships, of your creativity, releasing a lot of paradigms around that, releasing wounds around the inner child. That may have had you have this in the upright. And then what do you get? You got the Star again. You got your card again. So again, this is all the themes I said before. This is about you really honoring your uniqueness and being able to hope and dream with it, right? You truly embodying yourself in your sense of value. And again, bringing in the galactic energy, bringing in that magic of how you manifest. Very powerful stuff, Aquarius. My third eye is throbbing at this, and I really want you to trust in your deeper inner knowing. Right, and get out of your own way. And there's a real opulence here of water, right? So we've got the 2 water jars being poured out, this sense of overflow of water, which is your workhouses, which is the resources, which is your regular income. So again, that kind of the synchronistic energy when we're working with source and the galactic energy, giving you opportunities where you're like, woohoo! Okay, the challenge and how to work with it. We got the King of Pentacles in reverse. So this is really similar to that Ten of Pentacles of you not believing in it. You not believing in this possibility that you are abundant. So it's like this mindset of the King of Pentacles in reverse. The King knows, and before it was the King, knows that every act is an act of creation, is an act of abundance. And it got it to being the King and the King of Pentacles. King in the Pentacles, lol. Getting a pentacle. Maybe have a pentacle on you, near you. Maybe draw one and stand in it. And bring that abundant energy into you to help work through this. Okay, I just got confirmation from the energies that that was the right thing to say. That this figure is holding the golden scepter. The only other person who has that is Venus, is the Empress. She's over there going, hey, let's focus on this. Let's focus on your capacity to create despite the limitations that you may be having around you, right? And now this is about getting out of the rational, the material expectations of abundance of your previous experiences, right? That there's a block here of you believing in the possibilities. Remember the examples I gave. An Aquarius rising got paid for 2 jobs that they didn't do. That the clients genuinely were like, well, it wasn't, you know, the reason why you weren't able to do the job wasn't your fault, because other things happened that meant that job was then not there, but they still got paid for not doing it. It's just, it's so that Pisces, like, things appearing from a non-rational place, right? So this block around that manifestation energy, around who you are and what you're capable of, is very powerful, right? This is the challenge, right? Cut the deck to get some advice on that. We've got the Ace of Pentacles. Trust in the fresh energy, trust in the opportunities, trust in your capacity to create from a higher perspective and a more abundant perspective. Get a bit delusional. Right, how to work with this energy. 5 of Pentacles again, and the 2 of Wands. This time the 5 of Pentacles is in reverse, right? So this is saying get out of that scarcity mindset. Get out of that fear response that you are not supported, you are not loved, you don't have the resources, you are not getting the regular income to support yourself, to get a roof over your head, to really nourish yourself, right? It's saying focus on this being in reverse. Focus on the opposite of it. Very similar to the advice with that Ace of Pentacles with the King of Pentacles. And the 2 of Wands is about getting the lay of the new land, right? It's about long-term manifestation. So this is calling you to observe this reality, right? This synchronistic miracle reality that I am seeing show up so loudly, right? And trusting in it, observing it, just letting it happen and observing the new skills, the new understandings that are coming through, and giving yourself the time to work with it and put it into practice, right? Because this figure is surveying the realm that is now existing in. And that realm is very different to the previous realm, because that realm used to be this and it is no longer this. And it's asking you to observe it, right? And really take your time with the cultivation of your skills and your tools. Try new things. Try, you know, if something pops up in your new frequency, you're like, oh, I want to figure out, I want to try that out. Try it out. It might not stick, but that's not the point. It's the point that you're engaging with the new energy. At the bottom of the deck. You won't believe it. You won't. But here it is. 5 of Swords in reverse. It's your stalker card, Aquarius. I believe it is an Aquarius card as well. So this is the release of that perspective, the mind that has brought you heart grief, because it's carrying the 3 of Swords, right? And those are the swords that are in the heart. And there's this cycle that we often have around going from either the victim or the bully. The bully was the victim at home. It's predominantly true. It's very rare for that not to be the case, right? We are bundles of love, really. We really are. And yet the world has us get into this space quite a lot, right? So releasing of the conflict of self, releasing of the cycles in your mind of the outside world that then get recreated there. That is this cycle of domination and subjugation, right? We're shifting beyond that energy. And I love that in terms of the battle you may have felt you've had to do to show your value, to show your worth, that may have led to you feeling, oh, I'm not valued by the outside world. The battles when you go out in the world of getting those resources that maybe somebody always pipped you to the post, and for whatever reason, certain situations then crashed and burned, and it was all a bit of a struggle bus, right? We are getting out of that mindset and into a space of abundance. I cut the deck and got the sun. Lol. And then the Ace of Pentacles again, and then the moon, right? So a real alignment of fresh new energy with these eclipses, with this eclipse cycle, sun, moon, a vision, your intuition coming together so you understand and you're aware of this new dynamic. So focus on these reversals of those 2 5s, that the conflict that you have every right to have believed in and seen because it was happening is falling away. And so to amplify that, funnel your energy towards that state of neutrality, towards that state of criticism, of judgment, and allowing the support from source, the miracles from source to come in to reconfirm to you and wink at you and let you know, hey, not the same vibe anymore. Big elevations. Right, now we're going to get 2 cards for the sign of Sagittarius, because that's where this North Node in Pisces is manifesting. In your hopes and dreams. So it's quite funny. We've got the star card that represents that showing up. Hopes and dreams, friends, groups and alliances reaping the benefits from your 10th house, which is your life purpose / career. Career doesn't have to be life purpose, it can just facilitate it. This is the house of good spirits. So this increase, this expansion of your own value, of perhaps your resources, of your skills and your tools, are manifesting up in the way that you hope and dream, elevating your way of hoping and dreaming. As I said, these houses all for me represent value and lack thereof, and being open to receive and give in healthy ways. When we don't think we're worthy to receive our hopes and dreams manifesting, to be received in groups, you may have felt quite isolated, being kicked out of the tribe, not finding your tribe, always having to conform, that kind of stuff, or not getting the benefits from your 10th house, putting in all that work. Ita is often, usually, and I don't like to say it, but it is kind of true, of that there's something core within you that's blocked from being able to receive in the way that truly serves your soul's experience. In my root chakra and my sacral chakra and up to the solar plexus, they are now all shaking. Shaking is a great practice to release energy. I just had an energy release. It all came up out through my mouth. I'm now feeling like more of an ease of flow, an ease of vibe coming in. And that's big Sag energy. So you're really going to be elevating and taking action, seeing a accentuation of, okay, well, what are your hopes and dreams beyond all the conditioning? How do you want to engage in bigger groups that may be that your skills and tools are going to be more readily available to bigger groups, which may then have a knock-on result of having more income. But overall, that more sense of you connecting to groups that are resonating with your value system, your true value system. This confidence that's building over in the second is then opening up more portals to be able to receive from that career house, from that life path house. It may see you when you're sort of trying out new skills, right? New things, or when you're pushing into this new territory, that you'll find yourself in groups that you can then work with that energy. I'm going through a similar thing with the Virgo South Node manifesting in Gemini in my 11th, right? I then started going to, on the first transit that we had with the moon in Virgo, since the nodes had changed, I went to a spiritualist church. I went to a development circle, and this is where everyone sits in a circle and they practice connecting to source. Predominantly it's connecting with spirits, with the dead. And I've never been to anything like it. And but it's essentially working on your intuitive skills, working on your psychic skills via the medium of mediumship. Now, it's my first time. I was funneled off into a little room to practice the skills, which was phenomenal, and it was really wonderful to be in an environment where this thing that I've had going on for a while now, so it's not anything new. I've been very solo with my experiences with it, in terms of I haven't been to a group with who other people are like-minded in that way to practice it. It was very, very new to me, but the skills weren't new. So this is something that is unfolding, that is expanding, this new way of working with your skills. You may find yourself in groups where you're all playing around with it, you're all exploring this kind of thing. But overall, this confidence, this expansion in your sense of value is activating a portal of the hopes and dreams that were inaccessible because of the restriction around that value. Okay, so what's the intention of this Sagittarius manifestation? We got the Two of Pentacles in reverse. Now, in the upright, for me, this is about being the hamster on the wheel, right? Gotta get up, gotta eat, gotta go to work, gotta work to get the food and the bed, right? And that's all you can think about. It's the survival mechanism. It's the round and round and round and round and round we go. Again, this is another figure who looks slightly unsteady, of like, if I don't do this, I'm not going to eat today. He's that kind of vibe, right? And we can have that a fundamental level within us, that survival mechanism. It's in reverse. And so this is a releasing away from the hamster wheel hopes and dreams, from the hamster wheel not being able to receive more so you can then rest and have more fun, right? Reaping the benefits from your 10th house. This is sort of highlighting not getting those things of elevating you outside of the hamster wheel. This is also all about work, which may meant that, you weren't able to focus on your hopes and dreams. You weren't able to hang out in bigger groups and have a good time because there's been a focus on this sort of scarcity. But it's come in reverse, which is saying big time you're letting go of the hamster in the wheel, right? You're letting go of those restrictions of how you manifest and what the purpose of your incarnation is, and the unfolding of it, the path of it has been restricted to the hamster in the wheel, is now cracking open. Outside of that survival mechanism. How to work with this energy. Oh, hi, the Fool. So this is the Fool, along with Pages. They're very youthful in their energy. They're not jaded. There's fresh new energy coming in, right? They want to go out and explore. And the Page is leading from its heart. You got two cards that reference that Three of Swords, that they're no longer here anymore. That's opening up your heart to move through the world and engage with it, the good, the bad, the beautiful, and the ugly, from a place of awe and curiosity. Right? This is how we should all be walking our path. The Fool is about to leap off this cliff. It knows a new reality is coming up, right? So it's outside of this, right? This is you taking the leap, that hamster in the wheel dynamic is no longer prevalent in your life cycle. Gotta get a bit delusional with it though, right? Gotta really just see life, the good spirits, and see that vibe melt throughout your body, right? Of anything that's happened before in regards to your hopes and dreams not manifesting, to connecting to groups in certain ways, to reaping the benefits from your 10th house. This is saying, no, there's fresh new energy here. Operate from that place. That's been a big key theme that's gone on in this reading. At the bottom of the deck is the Six of Pentacles, right? This is about rebalancing, being able to receive, getting out of the scarcity mindset. It follows the Five of Pentacles. This is brilliant. This is you building, you receiving things so you can manifest your hopes and dreams, receiving things, receiving those hopes and dreams, receiving soul family, receiving things from your career. Doesn't have to be money. It can be lots of different things, but genuinely just opening yourself up to receive support and work and co-collaboration. It might be working with a group collectively on your hope and dream. Oh, I feel big energy around this. I just want to very good, very good, very good, very good. Right, okay, let's get into the oracle cards. So first up is from the Four Agreements Oracle, which is based on a book, one of the few books I would recommend to anybody. It's very short and it's often very cheap. I've seen loads secondhand on like eBay and stuff. And it was written by a Virgo sun. So we're tapping into the Mercury energy with this card. Oh, that reminds me. So look to your natal chart and look to see where your Mercury is for the Virgo Gemini side. The themes of the house Mercury's in your natal chart will play a role in what's going on here. You can go even further into it to see the ruler of whatever sign Mercury's in and do that energy transfer. That will get you even deeper into the weeds with it all. But just look to where your Mercury is and the themes of that house. And that's going to be a useful tools to see how it's showing up and also how to work with it. Same goes with Jupiter. Jupiter traditionally rules Pisces and Sagittarius. So wherever your Jupiter is, I've got mine in Aquarius, will be influencing this. And again, whoever's ruling Jupiter will be influencing as well. You can really go deeper into it. I won't go into too much detail. If you want a personal reading, by the way, lol. I don't like withholding things. I'm just very aware that not everyone's got the time and the energy to go even deeper into it. But if you do want a personal reading to go further into this, my website is everywhere. If you want to pay by PayPal, email me directly. Itoela di animo or toela. So, Mercury. What's Mercury's message to you, my loves? Let your life be transformed. Don't make assumptions. And interesting, you see those butterflies here behind the throne of the King of Swords are butterflies, which represents metamorphosis, that it's gone through that process and now has such greater clarity. When you stop making assumptions, your word becomes impeccable and your life is completely transformed. Magic just happens in your life. What you need comes to you easily because spirit moves freely through you. This sums up that Virgo vibe, right? Of the assumptions that you may make, of the limited connection you have with Source, of the limited support you can get from Source. And the more you surrender that, the more that magic, that heightened co-creation in your relationship dynamics is going to, especially with Source, is going to be transformed. You've got to trust in the process, right? So it's letting go. Oh, my third eye's throbbing it. Letting go of certain assumptions you make about reality and then seeing that just explode. So next up we have from the Shaman's Dream Oracle, and this represents the Jupiterian energy. Now, even though they're obviously governing their own respective signs, these four oracle cards are overall energy help as well, right? So all of these signs are interlinked. We have joyful muse, inspiration, the gift of play in a child. The joyful muse invites you to be more playful, to have more mirth and joy in your life. You've become boring to yourself even as others continue to find you interesting. Circumstances have dulled your edges and it's time to change. Not the things around you, but your attitude. Blow a morning kiss to yourself in the mirror. I feel like this is coming on from that North Node in Aries energy, moving into Pisces, of that meaning that you find of like, you know, that spring in your step, of that joy that's going to just help you feel better about yourself and your own sense of value. Diana, wink to a child, be mildly but elegantly inappropriate. The joyful muse is a source of inspiration, a wild and disruptive feminine force that compels you to invite more pleasure and delight into your life. Give yourself permission to be mischievous and find the humour in the tragedy while careful not to become frivolous. The power of this muse will shake up everyone around you and invite you to create beauty and grace out of the pain and tragedy you perceive in areas of your life. That's very Pisces. It's two fish tied together and they're pulling in different directions. It's like the yin and the yang, the sadness and the joy, right? And the honouring of both of those paths and finding a creative outlet, a joyful outlet with that, itoela di anima, to enhance those skills and tools, to bring in new skills and tools. Itoela di alamo duela. The joyful muse often comes at a time when darkness prevails and the future seems dour. Embrace her gifts, being playful without being silly. Invite the child inside of you to come out for a play date, and he or she will help you to return to your inner innocence. This also ties in the work that's going on in Gemini, right? Of the refinement of that is giving you more creative musings on your skills and tools, rather than, oh, I want to go down the pub every night of the week, right? There are restrictions that are showing up in that fifth house of play and joy, right? You may, because that's being restricted with the South Node manifesting there, is having you be more focused on the skills and tools, right, of your manifestation, right? And your capacity to push into new spaces. Itoela di animo, toela the anima, and he or she will help you to return to your innate innocence, the place of never been there, never done that, even if it's the same routine you wake up to your every morning. So big comfort in the 3D, in your existence, that, oh no, you do have something of value. Your life is of value. Itu fala, di anima, duela, di anima, o tuela, di shanama, o tufiana, di ania. Dusha Tianima. Right, next we are getting a card from Earth, what's it called? Earth Magic Oracle. This is tapping into the Virgo energy. Oh, that's so funny. This deck has been, I mean, they all have been so on the money. We've got Island and Solitude. Can't get any more South Node than that. Itufala di anima, di shanima di animo, ena. Diana. And again, even though it's tapping into the Virgo energy, it's overall support for this whole transit. The solitary tree on this island, surrounded by the glassy sea, can evoke different feelings depending on one's perception and beliefs. The tree, which is in full blossom, stands out amidst the relative starkness and is illuminated by a beam of light emerging. Oh, this is your tree and source connecting, surrounded by the ocean of Pisces. I'm here for it. From the otherwise dark sky. It's an elegant reminder of how even when in what might appear to be relatively barren circumstances, and the South Node can feel like that, you just got to be mindful and know that you can then shift that fear into condensing what's left behind. There is a still beauty and growth. Although an island like this can be a metaphor for isolation and desolation, the thriving tree proves that even in the harshest of environments, there is life. We can see the tree's spider-like roots spreading out along the rocks, seeking nourishment from the moist soil. The sense of peace and solitude depicted in this image provides nourishment for the soul. You need to take some time for solitude, preferably in silence, and that's that Four of Swords. Itoela di anima. Di anima, spend the morning, afternoon, or even the entire day by yourself, completely unplanned and unstructured. Again, that's the letting go energy of the Virgo that we're bringing in. The bombardment of your senses by the noise and intensity of society leaves you on alert far more than is necessary. The vibration of the millions of people's worries and fears throughout the world can impinge upon you and greatly affect you if you do not honor your need to pull back from time to time. Often with 8th house transits or placements, we're giving what's there is a heightened connection with the outside world. It's giving it away to the outside world rather than your own sovereignty, right? So again, this is beautiful support energy coming in of like, hey, maybe do a protection energy, maybe have that acknowledgement, pull back that which is yours from the outside world. My third eye is now really throbbing into your being. Imagine you are this tree receiving in the darkness of what it may feel like the divine light from source, right? So the nourishment from source. When you have passed through through any self-constructed barriers to enjoying the quiet peace of solitude, it will serve you the best if you simply observe the thoughts and emotions that pass through you, especially those that cause shortness of breath or a quickening heartbeat. Remember that isolation is experienced not by choice, but out of fear. When you decide to spend time with yourself in solitude, however, you are choosing to once again find and connect with who you really are. Ooh. Don't need to say any more about that. That was really spot on. Right, next up from the Keepers of the Light Oracle. This is the Pisces energy that we're tapping into. Itufala, what does Pisces want to say to my lovely Aquariuses? Ishani moyana. Dishana maotufala. Ishana maot shani miyanama. Miyanama oto itini mauna. Ishana maotufala. Dishani madiani. You might want to do some third eye work, Aquarius. That was throbbing throughout, on and off this reading. And that's the deeper knowing, right? That's your heightened intuitive body. It's told you got to do some work with the throat chakra first. And this is being really clear in the way that you... being very clear in your internal words. I'm feeling really still at the moment compared to the energy of a lot of the other reading. There are certain things that you perceive to be fixed and real. You're a fixed rising sign, as am I. Most of my chart's fixed. We can be very stubborn. This is mutable energy. They're really wanting you to go into the deeper meaning behind why you think that's fixed. That's going to bring in some healing. And it's going to allow you to shift away from... Oh, God, the third eye really is painful now. To shift away... It's been a block of you being able to receive the light. In its clearest form. Yeah, it's shaking away from convention of thought and expectation and assumption of what reality is. So we have, for the final oracle card, Serapis Bey. Ascension. Move into your true self. Rise above the darkness. The light is here. Serapis Bey is the light keeper in charge of ascension. Say you just keep repeating things from your past as if they are true now. Right? Things, constructs of self that you had when you were a teenager or in your early years or whatever earlier point from where you're at now. And even though you have actually evolved, you're still communicating in a way that doesn't acknowledge that. So there's something about really going inward to observe the work that you've done and where you truly are now. That's going to open up portals within you around reciprocity, around that capacity that have been previously blocked off. Serapis Bey is the light keeper in charge of ascension. He once served as a priest in Luxor, Egypt, helping those pass on to cross over into the light. Now he is a presence we can call on in order to ascend. Ascension means rising up. It reminds us of the story of Christ being resurrected after death. This means that Serapis Bey can guide us from the lowest states of being back to the light. His energy is almost like that of a phoenix, giving us the support to move out of our own hell or darkness into a set space that supports our growth. The stars cannot shine without darkness. You may have experienced a low state of being, trauma or depression, but this is a new beginning. Become aware of growth. There is always room for improvement. There is also a sense of presentation now. You may be receiving documentation or certification to acknowledge your growth or experience. So funny, I don't know this deck very well that it's talking about this when I just brought that through. It's important to cherish this time and to realize that without the challenges or obstacles you have faced, you wouldn't be as strong, powerful, or focused as you are today. You are ascending personally and spiritually at this time, and the universe is here to support it. Well, Aquarius, what a reading! All tied together quite beautifully. Now, I'm going to do what I did at the beginning with the Aries, Capricorn, Cancer, and Libra energy. So I'm going to cut the oracle decks to put the cards back and see what we get. We have the Miriam Sacred Vision. Choose to forgive in order to heal. See the light in all. Remember that love has no boundaries. Beautiful vibe for letting go of old relationship dynamics, old situations, scarcity, seeing the true vision, healing in that, and that love has no boundaries. That is that Pisces energy letting you know that you are loved unconditionally. And that sacred vision with all that third eye throbbing. That's so funny. Oh, you got a little snort from me. I do love my snorts. I've learned to love them. Ita unconditionally. Ita la diali mortuela. Right, the joyful muse. We have unmarked trail, revelation. So you are walking a new path, right? You're going to get revelations along, a lot of inspiration by stepping into the joyful muse. So it may feel a bit uncomfortable, but practice makes perfect, my loves. Ituela dianima. For the island, we have solitude, we've got wolf and instinct. So heightened instincts coming in. I love the mountain, Capricorn, right? That's trines Virgo, of your higher self, your magic of your soul, having a deep instinctive connection to the downloads, to your connection to source. This sort of inner journey is heightening your instincts of where you go and how you unfold and what you're drawn to with the outside world, with relationships that serve your longer term incarnation. Let your life be transformed. We have your truth is personal to you. Don't take anything personally. Your own opinions and points of view reflect your own agreements and are personal to you. It is no one's truth but yours. That's kind of tying in with that message that I got of like, figure out what is the truth. What is your truth now? Itoela dianima, toela dianima. You know, perhaps you've been in relationships or with the outside world and there've been disagreements and disparaging energy. That it is, again, trying to get you out of the entanglement of old relationships, old relationship expectations and dynamics, and recalibrating back to the truth, right? Letting go of the distorted love languages, and allowing this to come through. Right, my loves, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it resonated. If it did, hit that like button, leave me a comment. I love to hear from you. It genuinely warms my soul. If you want a personal reading, perhaps based on this big thing right here, as I said earlier, you can email me directly or book through my website. Aquarius, be good to yourselves, be good to those around you, safe journeys, and be well until we meet again.